It is gratifying to see so many of you in the room. I assume you came for the keynote and might as well stay for the next panel, which I think will be exciting. Just to cover myself, all of my comments have been cleared by our General Counsel, except for the things that I'm saying now. So thank you, Sakila. I'm just going to give you a quick update on what's happening on the physical side of things, and then we're going to move over to the panel, and hopefully we're going to have a robust discussion about what's happening in the refiners' world. So what has been happening with physical services and the good delivery lists in the last year? And the short answer is a lot. First, the happier news. We have added 3 new silver refiners since Singapore. These refineries are located in India, China, and Italy, which illustrates the continued global significance of the LBMA good delivery lists. On a darker note, refiners operate in a highly competitive market. We all know that. Responsible sourcing ideals enable refiners to develop systems and processes to navigate difficult waters. It is possible for genuine mistakes to be made and rectified. However, systematic weaknesses and failures will not be tolerated. 1 gold and silver refiner was moved to the former lists during this period, but more about that later. I'd like to move on to a very important aspect of the maintenance of the good delivery lists, and that's proactive monitoring. Proactive monitoring has been modified and developed into a more streamlined process over the last year. Rather than being based on date of listing, it is now based on geographical distribution. We have recently moved from China and Australasia, and we've moved into Russia and the Americas for the next round. It is hoped that the new process will be more efficient and help refiners, supervisors, referees, and the LBMA itself, thank you, Varsha, to make sure that the process works smoothly. An additional requirement, however, has been introduced whereby a refiner must be able to demonstrate an ability to actually produce London good delivery bars. After all, that's why you're accredited to the LBMA. If a refiner's bars are regularly seen in London vaults or similar markets like Switzerland, that won't be an issue. But if your bars aren't regularly seen in London, we are going to ask you to demonstrate that you can actually make London good delivery bars. Another way that the LBMA is supporting the industry is through proficiency testing. This year was the first time that both metals, gold and silver, were covered. As well as the participation of good delivery list refiners, there was participation by government entities, assay offices, and supervisors. We hope that we get more refiners involved in what is a critical process to remain at the top of their analytical game, which is proficiency testing. Responsible sourcing. Okay, let me go back there. Responsible sourcing. The LBMA continues to develop the responsible sourcing program. We are committed to ensuring that all gold and silver and platinum and palladium that enters the supply chain is sourced responsibly. We will continue to improve all aspects of the program, from the guidance themselves, toolkits, webinars, auditor training, and interactions with all stakeholders. Version 7 of the Responsible Gold Guidance is now live and follows the tenet of continuous improvement and incorporates many enhancements that have resulted from the recent OECD alignment assessment process. The main area of disagreement, however, concerns what I would call the degree of prescription. The LBMA does not tell a refiner where it can and cannot source. It will, however, insist that a refiner has suitable systems and processes in place to allow a risk-based decision to be made and whether a particular source of refining is appropriate or not, refining material. We have aligned closer with respect to the wording on artisanal and small-scale mining, ASM, as well as the Annex 2 of the OECD document relating to the scope. Version 6 of the Responsible Gold Guidance introduced the country of origin reporting requirement for mined gold. Version 7 now requires that all sources of gold are declared, not just country, but also quantity and form, so mined and scrap. This information will remain confidential, but is essential in enabling the LBMA to sense-check global flows of precious metals using mass balance principles. At this point, I should point out that the LBMA has increased staffing to enable the analysis and due diligence to be performed. I'm particularly pleased that we have secured the services of Simon Houghton Dodd, who some of you may have met, who has a vast amount of experience in this area. Last but not least, in this section, the Responsible Silver Guidance was released on the 21st of September. Whilst adherence is voluntary for 2017 production, it is mandatory for 2018 production, via audits performed in 2019. We do accept that the first year of implementation for silver-only refiners will be harder than refiners who have already gone through the gold process, but we understand that, so we'll take that into consideration. The guidance is obviously available on our website, as is auditor guidance for gold, silver, and what a combined audit should look like. Remember, one audit, but multiple metals. We are working with the LPPM on the development of a responsible platinum and palladium guidance, which borrows heavily from the responsible silver guidance as well, because the metals, platinum and palladium, obviously have got a lot more characteristics similar to silver than they do to gold. I understand from the LPPM that this will be released before the end of the year. So, let's talk about elemental. The LBMA has developed an incident management process, which, if you read our yearly review, it details how the process works. This process was certainly put to the test by the events that happened earlier on this year and culminated in the movement to the former list on the 31st of March. Whilst the events were unfortunate, the ability of the LBMA to act under such circumstances is vital to ensuring that market disruption is kept to a minimum. The ability to coordinate with many disparate entities and organizations, such as the CME, Homeland Security, LPMCL, all the stakeholders who were interested, demonstrated the central role that the LBMA can and does play. Having said that, the LBMA was criticized in some quarters for not acting sooner. And in some quarters, it was criticized for not acting in haste. For acting in haste in other quarters. The LBMA understands the drastic implications that rumors can have. Probably the most important step of the incident management process is the first one, taking time to assess the veracity of an accusation or incident. Let us not be naive here. We operate in a highly competitive industry that encompasses a broad spectrum of players. I need to be clear here. The good delivery rules and the responsible sourcing program enable the market to operate smoothly. Just as the LBMA doesn't dictate refiner sourcing policy, it doesn't make decisions on individual members' internal protocols, particularly where there may be conflict with jurisdictional regulation. I am certainly aware, being close to such distinguished panelists, that people have different views on the role and activities of the LBMA. I'm looking forward to another challenging year. Nobody wants an easy life, do they?